Event horizon, often referred to as the space around the black hole, a point of no return, a place where nothing, not even light, can escape. Today, I want to change your perspective of the black hole and why it's not applicable to anybody here, and how we all have the ability to turn a black hole white. So having a personal experience of having navigated grim prospects of an uncertain future, I think I'm a bit of a wild card to add to the dimension of today's speakers. Growing up, my dad was an alcoholic, and he would put me down a lot. He'd call me a buffoon. He'd tell me I never amount to anything. He would say I was stupid. He would say I was bad. And I believed him. And I never felt loved by my dad. And I craved that love. And I thought I needed it in a form of significance. So I started acting at this age. And at this exact time, I was actually sexually abused, which led me on a path that might become quite shocking to quite a few people here. So at the age of 13, I was already getting arrested for shoplifting, lighting fires, criminal damage. At 14, I was given an antisocial behaviour order, otherwise known as an ASBO. At 15, I was expelled from school. And by 18, you'll see up there, I was in a young offenders institution in prison. Now, I'd love to say the story ended there, but unfortunately, the next 7 years to follow were years of complete and utter destruction and chaos. I was a drug addict. I was an alcoholic. I'd suffered with 3 different mental health diagnoses during this time: antisocial personality disorder, emotionally unstable personality disorder, and bipolar type 2, from which they prescribed me antipsychotic medication. I'd had my jaw broken, my teeth knocked out, slashed in the back with a knife, and hooked up to an ECG machine so many times for my cocaine use, I can't even count. I was even having epileptic seizures as a result of my alcohol abuse. And amongst all the chaos, one morning I walked in and I found my dad dead. And he had died from pancreatic cancer as a result of his alcohol abuse. By the age of 24, I was sentenced to prison for nearly killing a man. Thankfully, he survived, and I was sentenced to 18 months in prison. So I truly understand from a personal experience what it feels like to experience the prospect of an uncertain future. I was truly at my point of no return. The black hole from my traumas was sucking me in. And every light that I found suddenly turned to complete darkness. But yet, I'm standing here today as a TEDx speaker, as a distinguished guest, in front of you lovely people. And I bet the question on your mind is most likely, how? How is that even possible, to go from such devastating circumstances to an insane alternative that I'm going to share with you shortly, that at the time my mind couldn't even comprehend? And it all comes down to one word: choice. The powerful yet underestimated power in creating your life. To turn left or to turn right. To be good or to be bad. To reminisce on the past or to leap into the future. I left prison and had the opportunity to go to rehab. Now, as you can see, when I entered rehab, you'll see the rap sheet I had here. Alcohol dependency, narcotic dependency, anger issues, bereavement, dual diagnosis, attachment issues, childhood emotional neglect, rejection and abandonment, self-neglect. But I made a choice to change. I made a choice to stop blaming everything and everyone around me for why my life was so hard, and start to take responsibility for myself. And I engaged with the counselors and the psychotherapists and the psychiatrists. I read every book imaginable. I moved away from my friends and family. I started a complete fresh. And I enrolled into college. I graduated from college and eventually landed in university where I studied business management and entrepreneurship. I eventually founded a company that deals with some quite controversial technologies that I'd like to introduce you to today. Virtual reality and artificial intelligence. Now, artificial intelligence and virtual reality is completely disrupting many industries right now in ways that we can't even comprehend now, but in the years to come, the exponential growth curve of technology is going to change the way that we see the world. And we have choices to make. Medical are able to practice in a non-consequence environment where they can safely learn without making mistakes. Mental health, people that are suffering from post-traumatic stress disorders are able to reenact the scenario in which they were traumatized in an attempt to come to terms with the situation. The military, they're carrying out a vast amount of simulations, no risk. Education, you can now attend a digital three-dimensional campus. You can go on field trips to museums, back in time, to the solar system, or even into the black hole. And businesses, Amazon was able to get their staff training down from 18 hours to just 45 minutes because they put the headset on and they walk around the warehouse. Much easier than a book or a computer screen. A study by Fontcore here shows that VR training has a retention rate of 75%, which means it sticks, it lands, it feels real. Beating lecturers at 5%, reading at 10%, and audiovisual at 20%. It's also particularly beneficial for people that might have special needs, such as autism. And actually, now that the Oculus Facebook headset is down to just $300, about £250, as long as you've got access to an internet connection, anywhere in the world has access to an infinite resource for the first time in history. Now, here's some of the work we do. We've built an entire coaching galaxy, okay? So our lecturers can train you to become a life coach. And our AI simulated lecturers can actually test your skills and abilities as a life coach. We're taking personal development to an entirely new realm. We can even program you to have a conversation with your younger self, your older self, or even attend your own funeral to contemplate how you'd like to be remembered after you leave the world. You see, the question comes up, social media, the internet, AI, VR, it has the ability to connect the world in ways that we cannot comprehend right now. But it also has the opportunity to destroy the foundations of society as we currently understand it. But what does that come down to? Choice. You see, I prefer to see the big black hole as actually just a small little dot, as a matter of perspective. And you see, it's often that people focus on the black dot in their lives and the fear of uncertainty, worrying about what might or might not happen. And the same persists in technology, worrying about whether or not this might take away our traditions and our culture and maybe make us disillusioned or less connected. But very few people are able to see the huge mass of space around the black dot, the infinite mass of opportunity to evolve as a species and do things that a human will never be capable of. Ultimately, It's down to us to choose how we perceive and receive the world. Now, I'll always be grateful for everything that's ever happened to me, good or bad, because it was never happening to me. It was always happening for me. It was actually just a little black dot. I was able to break through the uncertainty, through the black hole, into the infinite mass of white space opportunity. I'm now the owner of a $25 million business, recently valued. I travel the world. I live in Bali. I have complete freedom. I don't have any of those mental health diagnoses anymore. I don't know whether a miracle occurred, I had them in the first place, or I was misdiagnosed. All I know is they don't affect me or my life anymore. And I'm about to get married next month in Barcelona to the love of my life. That's the infinite space of white opportunity that's available if you just see past the little black dot that can be very hard to not focus on. Now, this doesn't mean I'm immune from bad things continuing to happen to me. This is Mia Taylor, who was born sleeping, my daughter. Her first birthday was a week ago, 22nd of September 2021. And the difference is I have choice now. It would be very easy to focus on the black dot and pick up the drink, pick up the drugs, go back to old behaviors, but actually, we have a choice to turn adversity into an asset or pain into power. We have a choice. We get to choose. So as I conclude today's conversation, I want to leave you with a couple of questions for you to contemplate. And that is, will you choose to see the uncertainty as you are engulfed by the black hole of the future? Or will you choose to see opportunity as you are invited into the white space of evolution? Thank you very much.